Hey guys, and welcome back to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel for another interview. I'm Connor, and joining me is Dominic Burgess to chat all about his role in the new Peacock series, Dr. Death. If you enjoyed this interview or the others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So welcome Dominic, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. And we were kind of talking about this before we started the recording. Like, you've worked extensively in the US, but you're from England, and I suppose like when you started, decided to pursue a career in acting, was getting to the other side of the pond always a goal?
It was, yeah. I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, and it's a small blue-collar city,
Mm,
and there's a couple of theaters there, but I was raised on, Star Trek and X-Files and Buffy and Twin Peaks and all that
mm,
American programming. And then I went to drama school in England, and pretty much as soon as I graduated, this was back in 2004.
mm.
I started looking into the visa process, and I came across to visit Los Angeles a couple of times and jumped into
Right.
some classes just to see if it was the right fit. And
Mm.
yeah, then I moved here November of 2007, and this is it. This is me now.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, I suppose we're both biased, both being English. But would you say there's been any particular actors from over here that inspired you to pursue it yourself?
Um, Gosh, actors from over there that have now moved to America,
Or,
or
or,
just
maybe who in general like inspired you to be an actor in the first place might be an easier way to approach it.
gosh, I'm always inspired by character actors.
Right.
So Alfred Molina has always been a big inspiration to me. Brendan Gleeson,
Mm,
Ian McKellen, Ann Dowd. I love character actors, and I'm a character actor, and
right.
they're the kind of careers that make my heart flutter, and the performances that really transform vocally and physically. That's what gets me excited about acting and watching other actors. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose like kind of what you were saying with the character actor aspect even is that I suppose you've done like a variety of different projects. Maybe when you like pop up in something, people might be like, maybe like less so that's Dominic Burgess, but that's he was the guy that was in this. So like, to what extent then have you had that, or people like recognizing you from other things?
Yeah, it varies. It's so funny you say that, and you almost said it verbatim. There is a documentary uh that was made a few years ago now, called The Guy Who Was in That Thing. And
Right.
it's a group of middle-aged actors, and that's where I'm at in my career, is that I'm jumping from show to show and transcending genre and tone, and switching from comedy to drama. And so I do get a lot of people that will see me in the street, and I can see in their eye that they know me from somewhere, or someone will assume that they've met me already, or that we met
Right.
at a
Yeah,
party,
yeah.
or that we have crossed paths. But it's kind of funny. It's kind of nice. And then sometimes you see their eyes light up, and they'll register and be like, oh my
Mm.
God, you're Psycho Pete. Oh my gosh. Um, so yeah, it's fun, and it's always nice when people recognize you for the work that you do in a horrible narcissistic way, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's lovely, and people are always so kind.
Yeah, and I suppose there must be like sometimes different reactions depending on the character they've recognized you for. Obviously, there's a whole spectrum like unsavory, or if you're playing a nicer character and that's what they knew you from. I'd imagine anyway, right?
Yeah, I I meet a lot of people in their early 20s. I did a Disney show
Right.
about 8 years ago, Ant Farm, and so there's a lot of younger people in their early 20s are like, "Oh my God, you're Zoltan Grundy from Ant Farm!"
Mm.
And then the fans from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia are always a
Yeah.
little more rambunctious and like, "Whoa, Psycho Pete!" Um, and then Star Trek fans always want to know about what it's like to work with Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes, and they love, and I do. I'm a Trekkie too.
Mm.
I love that world and that universe and those characters. So that's a real treat for me too. When people want to talk about Star Trek, I am
Yeah.
all the way there.
Mm. Yeah, and I suppose like most recently for you, you're in Doctor Death on Peacock. So I suppose then, what could
Mhm.
you kind of explain about the show and your character Jerry?
Yeah. Dr. Death is it's based off a podcast which is about a real life spinal surgeon, Christopher Duntsch, who during the course of his career, I think 38, 39 surgeries, injured, maimed, permanently damaged 33
Mm.
patients. Some of them died, and Jerry was Christopher Duntsch's best friend. He was his right-hand man.
Sure.
They went to college together. They played football together. Jerry was helping him set up his business. He would run the business side of things. He would drive Christopher Duntsch to appointments and around town. He set up his clinic with him. And ultimately, Jerry went under Christopher Duntsch's knife.
Oh,
Um,
right.
and let him perform surgery on him not once but twice, and ended up uh, quadriplegic. So
Yeah.
it's a real, it's a true story, and it it's devastating, the damage that this doctor did to so many people. So it's something much more serious than I have maybe done before.
Mm.
But that's again, it's an exciting challenge as an actor to step into that world.
Yeah, yeah, because that kind of segues into what I was going to ask next in terms of like what makes Jerry stand out from the other parts you played. Obviously, we kind of talked about the variety you played, but like where would he fit in that group?
Yeah, I think with Jerry, a lot of the other shows that I've worked on, I'll jump from show to show, and it might be one episode or 6 episodes. And with Jerry, because we're following him in the story from the 1990s through until 2017,
Hmm.
and we're following him when he's in his early 20s, and he's loud and he's boisterous and he's dealing and he's active and he's upbeat and happy, and to follow his entire journey
Hmm.
to where he ultimately ends up physically and emotionally in the courtroom in 2017
Right.
is a radically, it's a big emotional journey. And
Hmm.
it's just a treat as an actor to be able to dig into that and explore that, and really, physically, vocally, everything about it. He's a completely different person from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, and that's
Hmm.
a joy as an actor
Yeah.
to explore and work on.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a great arc, I think, to experience, and obviously tragic, but, as I'm sure that you were saying, very creatively fulfilling.
Yeah, and it's tough when you're playing a real life character, and it's something that I've mentioned to the showrunner, to Patrick McManus and Maggie and Jennifer, and so the directors, was that I always wanted to honor Jerry, and he is this big ebullient fun character, but I never wanted him to be the butt of any jokes.
Sure.
Nothing. I wanted to make sure that nothing was ever going to be at his expense, that his emotional story was coming from a place of loyalty and love to his best friend.
Hmm.
Um, so and that's really the angle that we took with it. And then Jerry Summers passed away in February of this year while we were filming, and
Right. Okay.
so that really lended a seriousness, and really wanting to honor and respect his journey and what he'd been through. Um, so yeah, I hope that comes across.
Yeah, because I know like a common question for these kind of projects is that like whether you met the real person that you're playing. But I mean, did you get the chance to meet Jerry before he passed, or no?
I didn't. I know that Anna Sophia and Christian were able to meet and speak with their real life counterparts.
Right.
Jerry, I didn't reach out to. When the podcast first came out, he was very reticent to talk to people about his experience.
Mm,
And so it's such a personal thing, and he'd been through so much, and I personally didn't feel comfortable reaching out
right.
if he wasn't comfortable, if he obviously wasn't too
Mm,
comfortable talking about it. He did a follow-up episode of the podcast last year, I think in November, where he did open up a little more, but still, even to that day, the question was posed to him, if you saw Christopher Duntsch now, what would you say? And he said, I love you, and they would still be friends, and they would still go out for a drink. And it felt inauthentic for me to reach out and to pry and to ask those sort of questions about why and why he thought that. So I followed him on social media, and
hmm
he was, warm and wonderful with his care and support staff, and he loved sports, and he loved his dog, and he was optimistic and upbeat, and that's what I wanted to bring to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose like anyone who might not have like heard about the show yet, I know there's some like quite well known names also attached. You mentioned I think Anna Sophia Robb is in it, and Alec Baldwin, I believe also.
Alec Baldwin, yeah,
Yeah,
Christian Slater, and Joshua Jackson plays Christopher Duntsch, the lead. I mean, horrible to say, the lead of the show
right.
um, is a killer. But yes, Joshua Jackson is the lead of the show. I'll phrase it like that. Joshua Jackson's the
Yeah,
lead of the show. Not Christopher Duntsch. Yes.
yeah. And I suppose then with that kind of eclectic range of experiences, was it able to find, I guess, a relatability early on, or was it kind of any kind of intimidation with, I mean, the likes of Christian Slater or Alec Baldwin, that kind of thing?
No, actually, I actually never got the chance to work with Christian or Alec, because the way the
Right.
show is structured is it sort of runs in parallel timelines. We follow Christopher Duntsch and Jerry from 1990 through up until 2017,
Got you. Right.
and Alec and Christian are sort of the very contemporary storyline while they're trying to bring him down in the courtroom.
Mm.
I would have loved to have met Christian and asked him about his Star Trek 6 experience, though. But yes, working closely with Joshua and Anna Sophia Robb and um, Grace Gummer, and they're all so wonderful and warm and open, as much as we could be filming in COVID, when you have a mask and a face shield, and
Yeah.
um, but yeah, everyone is so good and so
Mm.
talented, and came to the set so prepared and laser focused and knew their characters inside and out. And so when people come prepared like that, then you just get to play and explore on set and really dig in deep into the work, which is a real treat.
Mm. Yeah, because I know you just I guess like alluded to it, because would you say that's always the case? If you don't have scenes with someone, you wouldn't have met them like while doing the project, or could it ever happen that you might cross paths like off camera or something?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been on shows where, you don't have scenes with someone, but in the makeup trailer, you'll pass someone by and
Sure.
be like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Mm.
That would happen a lot on The Good Place, because all of my scenes were with Chidi.
Right.
But then in the makeup trailer, you'd see all the other folks, and that was
hmm
again a wonderful, warm, loving set experience where everyone's like, "Hello, welcome to the show." So yeah, it's always nice, and everyone, 99% of the time, everyone is there to work, and it's always usually a very warm and pleasant experience.
Yeah, and I guess if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I believe there's 8 episodes for Doctor Death.
Right.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I suppose then, like, how would you say that kind of compares to the longer, like, 22 or 24 episodes that some network shows might have?
Oh gosh. You know, when something there's a lot of limited series now.
Hmm.
I think I'm coming at it from multiple points of view. I'm gonna do it with an actor brain, and I'm gonna do it with a writer brain.
Sure. Okay.
Um, you know, in the writing of it, when something is a limited series, say for example, it's a Sin or I May Destroy You or Mayor of Easttown,
Hmm.
then you really get a chance to get laser focused on the story. And so there's not a lot of filler. You're getting all the information that you need succinctly. You're in, you're out. Filming wise, we filmed for 5 months, 6 months
Okay.
in New York over the winter, and then that's it. And then you move on to another project. Or if it's a limited, if it's a series that has 8, 10 episodes, as an actor, that might take 5, 6 months. And then the other 6 months of the year, you're free to go and explore other opportunities. If you're
Hmm.
doing, something like Grey's Anatomy or This Is Us, that is those 22, 24, 26 episode seasons,
Yeah.
that's usually taking up, 9, 10 months of the year, which
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
wonderful as an actor in terms of
Yeah.
job security, knowing
Career-wise.
like,
Yeah.
I've got a job for a whole year, and then I have
Hmm.
3 months off, and then I'm working again for 9 months. And then the other benefits of doing those long 22, 23 episode shows is that they're ensemble shows. And so, you will usually get a showcase episode for your character, and
Yeah.
that, that's nice too. I think there are pros and cons to both. If you do a limited series, I know for myself, because I jump a lot from project to project. As Dr. Death was nearing its end, you go into sort of survival mode of what's next. I've got to find another job.
Hmm.
Um, and if you're doing a 22, 24 episode season, by the end of 9 months, I think people are exhausted and they're
Right.
ready for a 3 month break. So, I think it's apples and oranges,
Yeah.
but I like both.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, in a more like general sense, because I would imagine like any like profession or industry, like acting would have evolved and change, as the years progress and as like time goes on. So, like, what would you say then people should be like more aware of when they're starting an acting careers, or anything that people might not appreciate or consider when making that decision?
Gosh, that's a good question. If you want to pursue acting, oh my gosh, pursue acting. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. Just knowing that it is hard, and there's a lot of rejections, and there's a lot of no's, and there's a lot of heartbreak.
Mm,
But if it's creatively fulfilling to you, then oh my gosh, do it. And you know what? I think it was heading this way anyway, and COVID has sort of expedited it.
yeah.
But now, with the rise of self tapes and Zoom auditions,
Hmm.
I think there's less. It's less important to be based in London or New York or Los Angeles,
Hmm.
because now, if you're able to travel, you could be based in Cardiff and put yourself on tape and go and film a job in London
Right.
or Manchester or Stoke, or wherever you are in the country. I mean, England is such a small place compared to America.
Yeah.
Um, but now, I have a lot of friends that during COVID moved out of town, and they moved back to Nebraska, and they moved back to Texas, but they're still putting themselves on tape.
Mm,
And, I, knock on wood, I just worked on a job in Puerto Rico,
okay.
and the guest cast from there, I was from Los Angeles, someone else was from New York, someone else was from Florida, someone else was from Austin.
Hmm.
And we all went and we did this job, and everyone put themselves on tape. And so I think that's a wonderful thing that acting has opened up globally rather than just in major markets.
Yeah, yeah, because I know I've had like really great similar conversations in like prior interviews where like people have said that, and like advice that they gave was to not take rejection too personally because it'd be a really like arbitrary reason. You might be like too similar looking to someone else, or
Oh
you're,
my gosh.
I mean that kind
Yeah.
of thing, right?
I'm 6'5" and 300 pounds, and
Right.
I have lost jobs because I am too tall, because I'm
Mm,
too short, because I'm too big, because I'm too skinny compared to what they want. There's no way of knowing what the production will want. That it's, when you start to take it personally, and it's really hard to not
mm,
take it personally, especially when you first start out.
yeah.
Um, and it's something that I really struggled with at the beginning of my career in London, when auditions were really few and far between.
Hmm.
I was lucky if I had an audition maybe once every 3, 4, 5 months. And so there's this pressure that you go into the audition room and you have to do well, because you might not get another audition for another 5 months. And
Mm,
oh gosh, you hold on to it so tightly, and then you call your agent 15 minutes later and you're like, have we heard anything? What did they say? Is there any feedback? What, I need to know.
mm.
And oh my gosh, yeah, it's enough to drive you crazy, but it's honestly so rarely about your performance or what you've done. It's how you look compared to everyone else in your family that they're casting, and what your hair color is.
Hmm.
And um, but I think the best advice I could give for anyone starting out is to be in class, to study, to train, to work with other actors, to read scripts, to practice putting yourself on tape, and to write. I started writing and creating my own content, and then
Hmm.
you take the onus, and then you're not waiting for the phone to ring, and you're not at the beck and call of other people. You're creating yourself and building your own career too.
Yeah, for sure. And this is actually the last like pre-prepared question I've got down here, and because obviously you've touched on like Dr. Death and like your project in Puerto Rico, but I suppose then what do you hope to accomplish professionally or personally with the rest of 2021?
Oh boy. I mean, knock on wood,
Mm,
2021 has been really wonderful to me thus far. And it's terrible saying that, knowing that
yeah,
there's COVID, and that there's a lot of people in situations far worse than I am. But I've been fortunate enough to go and work on this show in New York, Dr. Death, and then to travel to Puerto Rico, and I'm doing my first animated voiceover, and
right.
I'm working on my first video game. And so there's been a lot of firsts this year
Hmm.
for me, which is really exciting. I've been acting now for 16 years, and so to do my first animated voiceover is a real treat. And
Yeah.
to go to Puerto Rico and work, and to work on a stop motion, a motion capture video game, all this exciting stuff. And so I just hope that there are a lot more firsts down the line, and as things progress, and you know we take it as it comes. That's what you do as an actor, is
Hmm.
who knows what's around the corner, but that's what's so thrilling about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose just to say then, best of luck with Dr. Death and with your other projects are in the pipeline. And thanks for taking the time to speak with me, and all the best and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Connor. This was delightful. Thank you for taking the time.